Yeah, before we begin, I will actually tap out of this presentation really fast and just give you a few links beforehand. So all the links I have in this presentation are also in this document, just if you're curious and want to check them out. And the other part is it would be nice if you could join me on Slido for just 2 very short questions before we begin. So either scan this QR code with your mobile phone or just go to slido.com and type in these numbers. And just really 2 short questions for me so that I know it for the talk, basically. So it's still open. You see the links on the left side. So the first question is, do you know what Chemotion ELN is? I think most of you know in this in this Stammtisch, but still, to be sure, I will give you a few minutes or seconds. Okay, 3 people said yes. Maybe some more, 5. How many? Wait. Okay, it looks like that all that wanted to participate actually have or know what a Chemotion is. And the second question is, have you used it actually before? So have you done something like maybe just a workshop, a test, anything at all? Have you done something in Chemotion before? Okay, so we at least have 1 person here that knows Chemotion but has never done something there. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So then I can take this into account. The next thing is, if you want to follow along, so I will have something like a live demonstration and you want to follow along, you don't have to, right? But if you want to, and you don't have access to a Chemotion instance, you can go to chemotion.net. You also find the link in the document I just shared with you, and go to this try button. And then you will get to the official Chemotion demo instance, and then you can sign up on top. Just fill out some of the fields. It's really fast, and then you can follow along later on. As I said, it's not necessary, but if you want to, yeah, you can, of course. Okay, now to the actual presentation. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm very glad to talk a little bit about gamification in teaching, ELN training, and as an example, the Chemotion files, as I call them. And yeah, my name is Benjamin Golub, and you already see this fair elephant symbol, and maybe the whole context is not too clear. So some background information about me, maybe first. So first of all, I am a chemist, but as you can see, this picture is quite old. So it's, I think, the only picture from me in a lab, because I actually was a physical or theoretical chemist. So I did molecular dynamic simulations of ionic liquids. And I think we could talk about this picture for a long time. This was actually my workplace. So you can say I'm a theoretical chemist with a huge background in chaos. But actually, since the mid of 2021, I'm working in the field of research data management. So I'm no longer working in the field of theoretical chemistry. I actually work in the field of research data management. First, I was at the Thünen Institute in Braunschweig. And then later, since the beginning of 2022, I worked at the Technical University Braunschweig at the university library, right? And for the past 2 years, I was actively involved in NFDI for Chem, especially in the workshop training, but also in developing the electronic lab notebook Chemotion ELN, developing in this case that I talked to researchers what are the needs for an ELN specifically for the pharmaceutical community, and then gave the feedback to the developers, right? In this case, I'm not writing on the code. And since the beginning of this year, as was already mentioned, I'm actually active in the state initiative Research Data Management in Lower Saxony. So if you're from Lower Saxony, you can keep your eyes and ears open, because you will hear a lot about this in the future. And also, since beginning of this year, I'm part self-employed with this fair elephant, right? And all the things I will talk about today come from the self-employment in the fair elephant, as I call this. So really short overview, what is the fair elephant? So the goal of my self-employment is to be a strategic collaboration partner for fair research data management in natural sciences, right? I will keep this short so that we can come to the point we want to discuss, but actually I have 3 focus points if you want to. First of all, I have a service called Renta RDM Expert, And the whole idea is that I actually come to your place or to your lab or have longer discussions about what you want to do. Maybe you want to establish an electronic lab notebook. Maybe you want to publish something or something like this, and then support you over a longer time, right? Not just one talk, but support you for a month, half a year, 2 years, however long you need support actually. And then I'm also offering workshops and talks on the topic of research data management, but also again here, I really focus on making it as specific as possible to your situation, right? If you want a general introduction into fair research data management, then we have the NFDIs, we have NFDI for Chem with great workshops and talks and so on. I think the general and chemistry specific also stuff we have, and I more an addition in getting even closer to your field, right? Even closer to your things. And the third part is gamification, because I like games and I like to include gamification in teaching. I'm a huge nerd for pen and paper games like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and so on. And I really like to take elements from this and put them into teaching new things. If you want to know more, there is the Fair Elephant website, and you can contact me there and so on and so forth. But we want to stick with gamification today, right? So gamification means we are taking parts from game elements and put them into a different context. And in this context, it's into teaching, right? Into teaching some new thing to get the people excited or more interacting in workshops, for example. I just brought you 3 examples here. So gamification and research data management is nothing new. People have done it before, of course. Just 3 examples, there are many, many more. For example, the research data scary tales, they are working a little bit like Black Stories, if you're familiar with the Black Story gaming concept. Even so, if you don't play it, these are a great collection of actually things that can go wrong or did go wrong in the past with data management. I highly recommend to check this out. Then Mardi, so the consortia for math, basically in NFDI, did something like the Data Quest. It's a small little browser game, actually. You can play, I think you can still play it. It was published in the Data Love Week in February. Was also really fun to play this. And then there are things like horror escape rooms. This one is an example from the Netherlands, but there are also others, right? So gamification in RDM is not that new. And the whole point about why is gamification good and what can we do with this, I will talk about this a little bit later. So what I want to talk about today is taking gamification aspects to teach electronic lab notebooks, or more specific, teach specific functionalities of electronic lab notebooks. So I think since most of you know Chemotion ELN, you know what an electronic lab notebook is, but still a very short introduction. So electronic lab notebooks is a way to digitally document your research. And if it's a really good one, it's also standardized documentation, right? So you'll link your documentation directly with your results, right? Analytical data, spectra, and so on and so forth. So the linking is very important. And then ELNs actually enable you to make fair data documentation easier. This is what would be the best, and most researchers don't see at the beginning, at least, that a good electronic lab notebook or a good electronic lab notebook for your research can make your life much easier, especially if we're taking later about data publication. Chemotion ELN is what we want to talk about today, is the electronic lab notebook from NFDI for Chem. Most of you know this. It's for chemistry and all fields that are closely related to chemistry, developed in the context of NFDI for Chem and centered at the KIT mostly, in Karlsruhe. Also a link to the documentation in case you want to know more about Chemotion. Okay, and now what is the Chemotion files, right? So as I said, I tried to take gamification, put it together with electronic lab notebook to have a maybe fun and interactive way of teaching specific things in an ELN. So the Chemotion files is an escape room-like game if you want to. So you have to solve riddles to get to the right answer, and so on and so forth. In the end, the Chemotion files will consist of 5 different cases. One case is published, another one will be published at the beginning of next week. And these 5 cases will have a small overarching story, right? So that it's all connected a little bit together. And each case will focus on one core functionality of the ELN. You will see this because I will show you an example with the first case in a minute. And each case also consists of one data set and one video where it's explained a little bit more what you're supposed to do with the data set and how to set up actually this the Chemotion files. So you can see this here. So we have published, or I've published the data set, and then on YouTube you can find a short explanatory video on this, also the links in the slides and in the document. Okay, and with this I will directly go into the, let's say, live demonstration of the first case of the Chemotion files and show you how you can set it up and how you can actually use it for whatever you want to use it if you want to try it. So the first thing you can do is go to my websites, go to the offerings, or you go just into the link list and go to gamification, and then you will find the part about gamification and the Chemotion files. You will find a blog entry. We are not too much caring about it right now, but then you will find the actual Chemotion files. So you could also go to the fairelephant.com/Chemotion Chemotion files, sorry. And there you now see actually a short introduction, right? You see, okay, you need access to some Chemotion instance. Either you use the demo one or you use your own one if you have one. And then you see the first case, right? The hidden sample is it called. And you see it's a data set, and how to use the data set is a YouTube video. So if we click on the data set, we will get to Zenodo, and we will see, okay, this data set is actually published there. It's the Chemotion files, case 001, some explanation of the whole thing, and then you can actually download it here. So if you want to follow along, you can go to the Zenodo right now and download the case. It's not too big. It should be quite fast and download. And then the next step is go to your Chemotion, wherever you want to try this, and you just have to sign in. I will do this right now. Okay. Okay. And so most of you are familiar with Chemotion, but if you're not familiar, then the idea of the Chemotion file and the videos, I will not explain what Chemotion is, how it works, and so on. The video will just show you how to start, right? So this is an empty Chemotion instance. And also in the video, I will show you, okay, if you want to use it, you just go to this button and say import collection, and then you can choose the collection you just downloaded from Zenodo. So you can just upload the zip file, hit import, and then it takes not long because it's not too big, right? So it's already finished. So we see we have uploaded a new data set, and then we see something changed. So on the left side in the collections tab, we now see, there is a new folder. It's called Chemotion files, and we see it's case 1, the 001 hidden sample. And now we see we have 10 molecules sample whatsoever. Then we have symbols which are empty, so we don't care about this at the moment. And then we have something in the back. This is called a research plan, right? And as I explained in the video, the only thing you need to solve the hidden sample riddle is these 10 samples, the research plan here, and the search bar. Okay, there's nothing more you need to solve this. So we ignore all the other parts of the ELN for this. And then you can click on the research plan, and then you see, okay, this is now the riddle written in the research plan. As you can see, it's called the hidden sample, and then there's some flavor text to give you some feeling of a mystery or something you need to solve, right? So we can start reading it, just the first few lines. So, do you truly believe yourself ready to face the enigmatic trial set by the fair elephant? Begin, if you dare, with a seemingly uncomplicated. And then we see it's something like a riddle, right? The intricate cipher of A, B, C, D, E, where A, B, C, D, E are mere numerical whispers. D emerges as an elusive first non-zero digit within the density of the cryptic CCOC. And you see the text it's going on, right? And these are just some riddles. And you are supposed to solve to find the cipher A, B, C, D, E. depending on how experienced you are with identifiers in chemistry, you already have an idea what A, B, C, D, and E is, but you not necessarily need to have this idea. And as I explained in the beginning, the only thing you need is the samples, the search bar, and the research plan. And if we now go about, we will just solve the first few things together, or I will show you how you could solve it. Right, we see this is the pattern. Okay, we just copy it and go into the search bar, we paste it there, and then we will see, oh, okay, it seems to be something like canonical smiles. If you're not familiar with it, it's fine. Just hit search, and then you see, okay, it seems like we searched in our ELN and we found exactly one sample. And now we can click on the sample and have a look at the sample. And it doesn't matter if you really know the ELN or not. I think you still can follow to this step. At least I hope so. And now we can look again. Okay, we found something. Probably that's a sample. And then what were we looking for? The non-zero digit of the density, right? And now you go through this and looking for a density, right? You see the sum formula, you see a name, a mass, no CAS number, safety symbols. You see something about PubChem. You don't care about this right now. And you go through this, and at some point you will find the density, right? And then you remember the first non-zero digit. So probably the 7 we are looking for, 7. So D could be 7. And this way you need now to go through these riddles and try to solve them. The feedback I got till now is that it's quite hard. Maybe if you try it, you can give me some feedback yourself, but it doesn't really matter if it's too hard. I will come back to this. So we can also go to the second one, right? So B, and an enigma in itself reveals its identity as a sum of carbon entities in the cryptogram 71363, and so on. I think you have an idea what you could try next, right? You could go and copy maybe this, search for this. Maybe we can also do this step together one more time. So we copy it, paste it, and see, oh, it's something like CAS. If you're familiar with CAS, you know what this is. If not, for the moment, it doesn't matter, but it seems like that you can find something, right? In this case, you find butanol. Then remember, what were we actually looking for in this? Well, the sum of carbon entities. Well, this should be 4 in this case. And so you can go from one riddle to the next riddle. And feel free to try it yourself, maybe after this talk, and not right now, so that you can still listen to me. But in the end, you will probably find the ciphers, A, B, C, D, and find what it's actually meant to be. And then you can go back to Chemotion, to the Chemotion files, and you see here's a lock symbol. So here you can actually type in the password, and as you can see, what is the name of the hidden sample? So you get a cipher, right? Or you get some kind of string, and this is not a name, so you still need to translate this into a name. But the riddle itself should help you on how you solve the final cipher to find the hidden sample. Okay, and that's basically all. That's all the first case of the Chemotion files is. And I will go back to the presentation now, and we will discuss a little bit why am I doing this, or why do I think this can be useful. So we see that Chemotion or the NFDI offers a lot of support already, right? So we have Chemotion hands-on workshop, which is 1 or 2 days, I think. We have the Chemotion live demo and Q&A. We have Lab iMotion workshop. So Lab iMotion is a module, an extension to Chemotion, right? And I forgot, as I just remember, we have videos, we have the documentation of Chemotion, right? There is already a lot of different things here. So why do we need this? Well, the Chemotion files, the idea is to focus really on one specific feature of the ELN, right? And it offers a different approach to get to this ELN. It's not the official demonstration where somebody is showing you all the functionalities, but it's just giving you a different way to understand this. And this is definitely an additional offering, right? This cannot replace a proper introduction into the ELN, and that's not the idea. It's more an additional feature, and we will see what you could do with this maybe in the future. And this why point I want to talk about a little bit more, because let us take a look at the hidden sample. What did we actually show the users that for the first time maybe working with a data set? So the first thing you need to do is need to go to Zenodo, right? Maybe the people are not aware of Zenodo, maybe they don't know what it is, but from this, without telling them, they know, okay, you can put data sets there, right? And we don't talk about this, we just show them that you can put data sets there. And with this case, we also show them you can have different versions there and how you can document this, right? So the first thing, without giving them a long speech about repositories, publishing data or something like this, they just learn, oh, okay, actually there are data sets I can upload there, and then I can just import into my ELN, for example, yeah? And it goes on with the first step they have to do in Chemotion ELN is importing a collection. By importing a collection, it automatically means you can export a collection, right? So this means you can actually get your data out of the ELN, you can get your data into the ELN, and all of these things you need usually to explain a little bit more in detail, and here you can just show them, right? You just say, do this. And then they maybe not consciously know this, but they have done it. And if there comes the question, oh, how do I get my data out of the ELN? Well, you have at least some idea that it's possible, right? So, and these are all the small steps I try to do with this gamification aspect. And in this case, we are putting it into a new context. Don't think about these things, just do the things and move around a little bit in the ELN, right? And the core feature here in this very simple first case was the sample. How can I look in the ELN for different samples, right? What are these cryptic descriptions of samples, because they help me to find samples as it look like, right? We have here very different ones, and in some way they help me to find what I'm looking for. And if you actually solve all of this, then behind this log there is a slightly longer text about what was used in this exercise and or in this case, and then some more flavor text to keep it a little bit into the topic of this escape room like thing, right? And so you learn a lot just by letting them click around. There's also some part where they need to go to PubChem and so on. So just getting familiar with the ELN, and this leads me to the next point I want to make. So who can or should use in at least what I think these kind of Chemotion files, and where do I see the possibility that they can be very, very useful? So first of all, everybody can use them if they're interested in maybe checking out Chemotion a little bit more or just testing their knowledge. But you can also add this to workshops, right? If you have people in a Chemotion workshop, for example, that are really fast, and you have other people that are maybe a little bit slower, and you need to keep all of them busy, then you could just take one of these cases, and not necessarily the ones I publish, right? Make them your own. That's the whole idea. And just to throw them at them and say, okay, they need a little bit longer, so try to solve this, right? And then they have a fun way of actually using their knowledge they just gained from the workshop. This could, for example, be one example, but also the whole idea of developing your own Chemotion files if you're teaching Chemotion at your university, right? Add your examples into the whole data set and make it more customizable actually to your field. I will also transfer this principle to other ELNs, right? So if the Chemotion files are complete, the 5 cases, I will do it with ELAB FTW and Nomad or ACES, probably, depending a little bit on the setup. But I think you can actually use this also as an introduction in practical lab courses, because we try to put electronic lab notebooks into the labs, and this is quite hard to get there, right? There are more and more people trying to put it into practical lab courses, so organic synthesis, for example. And the idea could be that you're not, so what people are doing now is do your synthesis, and for 1, 2, or 3 of this synthesis, you document it also in the ELN, right? This can be hard because they need to learn how to do synthesis, and then they should also learn how to use a new software. What you could do instead is you say, okay, you have to do 10 syntheses. For the next semester, we cut down 1, you make 9, and the last one is actually an example which is already in the ELN, kind of the Chemotion files, right? All the data is there, and then they need to find a specific spectra or need to download the spectra, make some analysis or something like this, right? So that they don't need to put in the data and stay in the lab, but they just get familiar how to work with data, how to work with the ELN. So the whole point of data literacy, basically, in this part, I think this could be very useful to users in this kind of capacity. Also, what I like to do in my PhD thesis or with my colleagues, we always had some riddles on whiteboards or something like this, right? So you can also do this with Chemotion files and just get familiar with the ELN, which brings me to the point that Chemotion and all other ELNs are developing quite fast, and you get new features and so on. And most scientists, most people in the lab will not read the whole update, what is new, which functionality is new, right? But if you introduce a fun little way, maybe Chemotion files, maybe something completely different of teaching this new feature, then they may be more willing to interact with it and get to know it. Because I know this with software I use, if there's an update, I rarely check, is something new useful? I work the way I'm used to work, right? And with these kind of Chemotion files, I think this can be a nice way of introducing the new features with just this game-like element. Exactly. And I'm also looking forward or plan, and if somebody wants to take this idea and run it before me, you're welcome to do something like a hackathon with the whole thing, right? So get together people that are interested in developing their own Chemotion file, their own little escape room or riddle game. We have enough data in the Chemotion repository, for example, which is with this data you can work, right, and make something like a hackathon out of it, something of a competition, and then they get really familiar with working with data, and they will see by working with data what is maybe missing in the data set, and will learn for themselves what information should be published and what information should maybe not be missing in my ELN or in my data publication, right? So I think there is a huge potential field where these Chemotion files, right? You can call it whatever you want. These gamification aspects can help to introduce ELNs, ELN features, and so on and so forth. And in the spirit of these Stammtisch talks, I wanted to keep this really short, though this is already it. That's all I wanted to show really fast. What is the Chemotion files, how you can use it, and what I think is the potential in the future. And just if you like what you heard today or want to get involved maybe also, then feel free to contact me with the Fair Elephant, the webpage. I would be very happy if you follow on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Mastodon, something like this. And if you're actually looking for somebody that is, that helps you in your lab with some very specific thing, or you need very specific workshops or talks, then feel free to contact me. I'm very happy to then make a deep dive with you together into these topics and find a solution together. And with it, that is already it. So I hope it was useful in some way. And yeah, for now, thank you very much for your attention.